Hey, you know what? Speaking of China, man, shit, they Beijing taking over Hong Kong. It's the national security law. So basically, no more freedom in Hong Kong, which was one of the freest cities over there in that area, right? From what I understand. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, I've been to Hong Kong and China. I crossed over the border from China to Hong Kong. Two completely different places, two different monetary systems, different money. It's a very sensitive subject. It goes way back, and I don't know. I don't know how much you know, but I went there in 2010, and it was called a city-state, how it was referred to. Some people recognize it as a country. China said, bitches. You know, they do that with Taiwan especially, and with Hong Kong. And Hong Kong's a huge business hub that's been very successful.
Right.
And not that China hasn't, but they don't want to give that up, and people in Hong Kong don't want to give up their freedoms, but they're gone now. Looks like it.
Yeah, it looks like they're gone. And you know what? I mean, from just the gist of it, from what I understand, because I've never been, I never really read up on anything about that place, but I do hear things every once in a while, and you hear Hong Kong as this hub for business, and especially businesses like social media and news organizations, New York Times.
Banking.
Banking, right. And now, just reading headlines and reading articles and stuff, it's like, man, people are moving out. And some say it's because of the protests. There's been protests there for the last year, pretty heavy protests, anti-communist protests and things like that. And
well, it was kind of anti-communist, but what the real problem was that, from my understanding, was that China said, hey, you're one of our cities. And like, nah. And it's completely different. Even the people have British accents when they speak English over in Hong Kong, because it used to be a British colony.
Right.
And so just completely different place, man. It's crazy. And so you could tell you're in two different countries, in my opinion. But China was saying that, hey, we're passing a law in Hong Kong, because they got to the leader, people think. I forget her name, female. She was one that kind of signed things recently. Okay. But she was like, hey, we're putting in a law where we could extradite you to mainland China if we need to. Mm-hmm. And people are already disappearing. There's about 4 or 5 guys who wrote books that were kind of anti-Chinese, anti-communist, not Chinese, because some people consider themselves Chinese in Hong Kong. But they, anyways, long story short, they disappeared. No one's heard from them. They probably were extradited to mainland China, is what's believed. And so the students fought hard, and they were doing good, man. It was a great protest I was keeping up with, and then COVID hit. Streets were empty. So that was a lot of conspiracy theories, That was not what I was looking for. How do I not know now? I've been pressing that button. That's the only button I press.
That's so funny.
I thought it was that one for sure.
Yeah, you know what? I read the same thing in that Hong Kong had their own judiciary system, and they would be able to, control their own courts and things like that. But China stepped in, or Beijing more like it, and said, no, we're taking over the judiciary system now. Which, for them, I don't know much about it, but man, that's got to be a big blow, because they're even talking about up to life in prison for protesting.
Oh, there's rumors of work camps and stuff like that, but I don't know what's true or not. There's a lot of bullshit that goes out there, but I will say that from what I've seen, there's mass hysteria in Hong Kong. There's people going through their Facebook, social medias. China, I don't know if you're getting to this, but China sent out some stuff to all the social media organizations, because in China, from last I know, you couldn't get Facebook. Certain YouTube videos you couldn't watch. The internet was very controlled. When I went over there, I was like, what the fuck? And had a couple of Chinese friends, hey, let's stay in touch with Facebook. They're like, oh, how about email? We don't have that. But so I believe TikTok was either out of mainland China or Hong Kong, I forget. But they said they're leaving. I haven't kept up if they have. The platform definitely has changed a bit. It seems like it's a little more censored. Yeah, man, it's crazy. People are going through their Facebook accounts and Twitter and trying to delete anything anti-Chinese, the country, anti-mainland, protest. And it's scary because China will go through. I 100% believe they will go through and pick those motherfuckers up, and they don't care how many of them it is.
Oh, I believe it too, man. Yeah, it is a scary thing. And, China's communist, and, they do their thing the way they do their thing. And it's funny, I was listening to some interviews, and some people, it was interesting because some people from Hong Kong were saying, yeah, I 100% agree with this, and the protests are bad, and they're the ones that caused this. We were supposed to wait another 50 years for this to happen, but these protesters go out in the streets and start rioting and ruining things, and so it's interesting to see that dichotomy of if I were there, I would probably sit on the side of anti-communism maybe, or whatever. But there's people here in the States that even with the protesters here, and even though I think that what they're doing is for a good cause, some of the stuff they were doing was bad, rioting, burning down buildings and such. And there's people here in the States that, hey, well, shit, yeah, government, come on in, get these fuckers out of here. It's almost that same platform.
Well, we talked about this one of our episodes, one of the BLM episodes, where we talked about the undercovers coming in and starting fake fires and riots and stuff like that. And I remember you told me, I was like, that's nothing new, dude, because that exactly happened in Hong Kong, and it's happened way before that. But it was they caught Chinese policemen dressing a certain way and causing destruction to make some people in China to say it's the same. It's been going. It's not a new blueprint. But I will say this, that up until our next subject, that one good thing about being in America is when you know who the oppressor is when you can't speak out against them. Mm-hmm. That's how you know the oppressor is. And you can speak out against people, say they're oppressor, but if you're allowed to speak out in the street and march, then it might not be the best, and we should always improve. We just discussed this about governments that should always try to improve. They should never just be like, this is the best one.
Right.
And it's like technology should always move forward and improve. But I know we probably bash America. I like America. I've been around the world. I used to hate America until I traveled. And I was like, oh, okay, things are we're fucking spoiled little brats over here. But it doesn't mean it can't improve. But think about how many Hong Kong people had. It's funny. I saw a picture of Hong Kong people with American flags. They're saying, America, where are you, dude? You're supposed to be free speech. You're supposed to back us up. They had American flags. They want an Americanized system, democracy in Hong Kong, which they kind of already had. Well, you look in Portland with Antifa and Proud Boys fighting and some of the protests, and they have communist flags and are preaching communism. So it's
interesting.
Oh yeah, communism's huge in protests. Marxism. Dr. Odin even talked about Marxism, and it's that's where communism stems from. You know? Even talked about Mao and the Little Red Book. That's China. Mm-hmm. So although it's been adapted to be more financially, it's an interesting communism, right? It's democracy for the rich guys, but communism for the rest.